Being a good GM requires consistency, endless preparation, and player appreciation. This is Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for this episode of Confessions. This episode of Confessions, I want to talk a little bit about the journey of the channel, and I wanted to talk about some of the guys that I have gamed with for many years. So let's get started with this episode. So 3 years ago, I started Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master when my lack of time for gaming was at its apex. And that lack of time also probably exacerbated other things that were going on in my gaming around the idea of preference and the types of games that I was playing with my group. In our hobby, of course, we always try, or there is a call to try to reduce negativity. And of course, most of that conversation is around how we as hobbyists interact with one another as strangers, or how we interact with one another online, and the reduction of trolling. Our hobby is really fun and enjoyable. Most discussions, or a lot of discussions about gaming, at least on channels and podcasts similar to mine, are fairly positive. You're not talking about forums or blogs. But when we talk about reducing negativity, for the most part, it's referring to online trolling, disagreements, and conversations between strangers. Now, my channel is called Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I think that is pretty accurate advertising for what I talk about on my channel. And I don't believe that my channel is super negative. However, come on, it's in the name of the channel. A lot of what I focus on are some of the challenges that hobbyists face as they get older. If I didn't have overwhelmingly positive feelings about the hobby, or if I did not have an overwhelmingly positive history with the hobby, I wouldn't even be doing this channel. And I think it is useful information for a lot of folks in the hobby. I also cover things that can affect any hobbyist in the tabletop RPG hobby across the board, not just what an OG like myself would face. Hopefully, folks find my channel useful and enjoyable and not overly negative. Any endeavor that you partake in with other individuals, that sometime there are going to be disagreements and differences in preference. If you get more than one person in the room, at some point there may be a couple of differences. So hopefully I've helped fellow gamers out there work through some of those things. But I thought that I would want to take a moment to further reinforce the idea that I love the tabletop RPG hobby, to reinforce the fact that I have individuals who are important to me in my life just because of this hobby. I probably would not know them otherwise. So what I want to do is I want to give a shout out and give some love to some of my friends who are still in our core group, who are regulars in our gaming group, and let them know why I appreciate them and what I appreciate about them when it comes to playing tabletop RPGs. Now, when I have done episodes criticizing some of our differences in play style, or just lamented some of the challenges, of course, I would never use their name. But to this episode, I'm going to give nothing but positive shout outs to the core players in our group, and I am going to use their names. In no particular order, I'm going to go ahead and start with my friend Nate. If you look at one of my older episodes, it's one of my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time. It's game number 2 on my list. I actually talked to Nate and recorded it for the channel because he was one of the reasons that I started role-playing. We were longtime friends, and we started playing Champions together. We were friends long before we started playing, but I interviewed him, and you can find it on my channel if you want to check out that really short interview where we talked about Champions. But my friend Nate, I really love gaming with him. Obviously, we've been doing it for many, many years, and I call Nate the Dreamer. Nate and I are very similar in that when it comes to role-playing and gaming, we both have this incredible, epic imagination. When we were kids, we would build cardboard starships out of cardboard boxes. We would section them off. I think I may have talked about this during my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time videos when I talked about game number 2, Champions. So we've been friends a very, very long time, and both of us love the adventure, the fantasy, the epic nature of role-playing games and the imagination that it takes to have fun and enjoy tabletop role-playing games. Maybe of all of the players in our group, Nate and I are probably the closest when it comes to the type of imaginations we have. Both of us want our characters to be epic, to be awesome, and we're always dreaming about the next awesome character. And I really, really love that about Nate. He really brings a sense of creativity and imagination and fun to every game that he has been in. And I really love that about Nate. If you need a stealthy, badass assassin in your game, you couldn't do any better than to have my friend Nate in your game. He's always using his imagination. What if I did this? Can I do this? And he is an incredible character builder. He would work so hard and so long on his Champions characters. Champions is a game where you construct your character using points from ground up, and he would always put so much work and so much imagination into his characters and into the game. I have to say that I don't think anyone that I've played with dreams as big and as epically as my friend Nate, and he is a fantastic role player as well. Someone with such an incredible imagination puts themselves in their character's skin, and I really, really have always loved and appreciated that about Nate. Nate, you are awesome, and I've enjoyed having you at my table and with me when we were at another GM's table. Next, I guess I will talk about my friend Mike. I met my friend Mike at a local gaming club that we were both a part of. And what I have to say about Mike is that I have always envied his eye for detail. Nate and I have always been kind of big picture guys. Mike is a detail guy. Mike is always the most focused at our table, and he always wants to get things done when he sits down to play a role-playing game, and I've always loved that about him. He is an incredible strategist. He has always taken role-playing games seriously, and I love that about him, but he's not that guy, the grumbly guy who gets mad at everyone at the table because we're not getting enough done. He is always the perfect amount of detail and seriousness about the game without being a douche about it. He is also an amazing GM. Something that I always appreciate about game masters is when a game master gives off the feeling that they take their campaign seriously, and you can feel that they have done nothing but a ton of work on their campaign and on the session. Because when I sit at the table, like Mike, I want to know that the game master is taking the game as seriously as I am. And I always get that feeling from my friend Mike that he has done a ton of work. He's done what he needs to do as a game master to be prepared and to give you the best experience that you can get. He's also an amazing role player. And again, if you need someone who's going to know the details, who's going to be an incredible asset for the entire party at the table, you couldn't do any better than my friend Mike. And I've always envied him for his focus, his detail. I love being at his table when he's a player, and especially when he's a GM, because I always know that what Mike is bringing to the table is something that he's taken a lot of care with and that he really, really cares about. Thanks, Mike, for allowing me at your table, and thanks for playing at mine. Next, I guess I want to talk about my friend Eric. Eric joined our little gaming group after we were already 15, 20 years in. So he is a new addition to our group. He was a co-worker of my friend Nate. What I will say about Eric is he cares very much about the story. He wants to be involved. He wants to sit at the table with an interesting character and with other players who are also bringing interesting non-cookie cutter characters to the table. As a game master, he makes games that he is in very rich, and it's really awesome to me that he cares very, very much about his character and who everybody else is at the table. I've always loved that about Eric. He has always challenged me to bring more to story, to bring more to background, to bring more to the game that would make him and everyone else at the table interested, and our games are richer for it. He is also super imaginative. You're not going to stick Eric in a book or put his imagination on a leash. So he is also super imaginative and always trying to think outside of the lines to make the game more enjoyable for everyone at the table. And I've always loved that about Eric. Eric, you're a fantastic addition to our group, and I've enjoyed playing the games with you since you came on board. Thank you very much. And the last friend that I will talk about is my friend Kevin. Last but not least, I should say, my friend Kevin, I probably have to say that he is the best role player in our group. I'll say that. I'll have to say that. No disrespect to any of the other guys in our group. We have some fantastic role players in our group, but my friend Kevin is probably the best role player in our group. As far as character interaction, character flaws, backgrounds, and beliefs, I have never been disappointed with the decisions that Kevin has made with his character through the times that we have been playing. Kevin is a fantastic leader. If you're ever going to play a game like a military style game, or a game where someone is normally designated to lead the group, there is no one else I would prefer to lead the group except maybe my friend Mike. But Kevin has given a lot of memorable moments when it comes to playing his character, playing his character's flaws, playing his character's background. He's always given me wonderful advice as a player in my group, and I always know that he's going to bring a character to the table that's deeper than just cookie cutter surface character. He's also an incredible character builder. I started with Kevin, with Champions, with Nate and another friend, and he also has an amazing imagination, really takes building characters and bringing his imagination to the table seriously. And I've always loved playing in the game with Kevin. We don't get an opportunity these days to play a lot together, and I really miss that, because he makes the game so enjoyable. So that's what I wanted to do this episode. After 3 years of griping and grumbling, I wanted to let you know the reason that I even am doing this channel. If I wasn't or did not love the hobby the way I did, obviously I wouldn't even bother to grumble about role playing if I didn't love it. And if it wasn't for these fantastic guys, I wouldn't have as much love for the hobby as I do, and I wanted to give them an opportunity to shine. So guys, thank all of you. Of course, there are plenty of other folks that we have played with throughout the history of playing in the hobby. Not all of them are as regular. Our friend Ed, my friend Kevin's wife Geneva, Micah. So again, thank all of you guys for making this a really important and fun part of my life. And hey, if you have a YouTube channel, or even if you don't, and why don't you go ahead and shout out some of the people who have made the hobby so enjoyable for you. You can go ahead and put them in the comments, or do an episode on your YouTube channel, and I would love to hear about folks that have really made the hobby important and fun for you. So thanks for checking me out for this episode of Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are watching this video. Thanks.